Hey, welcome to the last 7 days, our high-tech news edition. I'm Brian Spellman.
I'm Andrew Sparrow.
And this is the show where we talk about, well, high-tech news and PLM.
We give our views on your challenges and our solutions across CAD, product lifecycle management, simulation, virtual manufacturing, and MESMOM.
Coming up, we have the Intel Foundry, NVIDIA accelerates, Applied Materials invest heavily, Analog Devices buys wafers, BWX technology in uranium de-enrichment, and Saperna partners with Arrow.
Ready, set, go.
So first up, Intel unveils the Intel Foundry with an eye to AI and next-gen lithography manufacturing. Intel executives detailed a new business vision for its Foundry unit, which they called Intel Foundry. And they revealed the most advanced chip manufacturing process on the company's public roadmap. This process is powered by high-NA EUV machines from ASML Holdings. The machines, which they're pretty small, they're about the size of a double-decker bus and cost a mere $350 million apiece, can produce the smallest transistor of any commercially available lithography system. Intel's Foundry business has chip production deals with a total lifetime value of, get this, more than $15 billion. One of those contracts is a deal to
Not
make it.
surprising. Not surprising
No.
when you think of whatever they're going in everything. AI's coming
Yep.
along. Not surprising.
Yeah, they're in the news all the time for these deals,
Yeah.
right? One of them is making an unspecified custom chip for Microsoft, which is going to leverage the new 18A manufacturing process, which makes transistors based on a gate-all-around design that Intel's rivals are now also adopting. So until now, the gate-all-around Intel 18A node was the most advanced manufacturing process. At Foundry Direct Connect, Intel detailed a more advanced process they're calling Intel 14A. It's expected to come online in 2027. It's going to use these ASML $350 million EUV machines to carve transistors into the chips. So this is one of the most advanced products on the planet today. Andrew, what do you think the top three challenges are here?
It feels like everything will be a challenge with this kind of business right now. I mean, this is at the cutting edge of frankly, our future, isn't it? I mean, number one, adaptation to these ever-evolving chips for your CAD, your PLM, and your simulation. That whole design engineering piece is huge. That's one. Number two, for me, integration of this manufacturing data. Manufacturing processes become more and more sophisticated and more reliant on advanced lithography techniques that they're talking about. And the integration of that data into your PLM systems and MESMOM becomes really crucial. And I guess the last one for me is simulation of next-gen manufacturing process, simulating the behavior of these transistors and structures at such tiny scales poses computational headaches and challenges, really does.
So adaptation, integration, and simulation. We could probably do a whole huge discussion on all of these, but let's just dive into to integration. Tell me more about integration here.
Yeah. So, well, this is something we hit every day. It's CAD, it's PLM, but it doesn't stop there. You've got MESMOM, and really the whole success formula is that seamless integration across all of that data, across all of those different systems that need to be connected up. Solution is very much bringing together your CAD developers, your PLM architects, your MESMOM experts, bringing them all together, removing silos, breaking down the data barriers, and establishing very much two-way interoperability standards that brings everybody together. You've got to build your data highway that runs from a design blueprint all the way to the manufacturing floor. We say this every day. It doesn't stop with a designer. It doesn't stop with an EBOM. It gets all the way through to the manufacturing floor that makes use of what's been done and making sure it's bi-directional. So with that in mind, you've then got to embrace your whole kind of common data model, ensuring that your CAD and PLMs sing harmoniously with your MESMOM solution.
Yeah.
A lot of challenges, a lot to take on, exciting, and something we deal with every day.
Oh, yeah.
Meanwhile, Intel is working on manufacturing. Nvidia is beating expectations. Nvidia reported its fourth quarter earnings, beating analysts' expectations on the top and bottom lines. Accelerated computing and generative AI have hit the tipping point. Demand is surging worldwide across companies, industries, and nations, says Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang. Nvidia's growth, however, has faced challenges from all sides. The company's chief rival, AMD, is investing heavily in its own AI chips, which includes its new MI300X. According to AMD, the chip is surpassing Nvidia's H100 in certain workload, but Nvidia has refuted those claims, saying AMD's testing was incomplete. Intel also has its own server chips and continues to build on their capabilities. So a lot of kind of infighting going on there. Also notably, shares in Nvidia jumped more than 9% last Wednesday, extending hours of trading sessions after the graphics processor maker delivered a quarterly earnings report that blew past Wall Street estimates and issued a rosy revenue outlook for the current quarter amidst robust demand for its AI chips. However, JMP has cautioned that even stellar results might not spell success for Nvidia's stock. The issue lies in supply dynamics. Surpassing revenue expectations could easily signal supply constraints for its coveted H100 GPUs, potentially leading to a supply glut down the line. Now, it's a tightrope walk where both good and outstanding performance could stir investor worries, making it a critical moment for the tech behemoth's market valuation. So let's unpack that for a second, Brian. What's the challenges? What are the major challenges, and what do you think the solution is?
I mean, we've got a lot to think about here. You're dealing with, as you mentioned, competitors who have an incredibly fast adoption rate. You've also got just your technology that is evolving at an exponential rate. So your product life cycle is going to have to excel across the board. You're going to need real-time information, collaboration across departments, accurate information. Your data management system has to be as close to perfect as you can get. So of course, your digital twin process here is going to be, critical, maybe the critical thread. That was a good pun there. But innovation and of course R&D, I think, has to be ahead of the curve, especially if you want to keep blowing investors away, right? You've got to keep doing innovation, new stuff. And I think the biggest one might be supply chain.
Yeah, I agree. It is. I think it's the supply chain. I think JP Morgan were touching on it as well, saying things look rosy, but what about supply chain issues coming through? Let's just dive into that for a second. What's the challenge? What's the solution? How can we help fix that supply chain issue?
So sometimes supply chain is something that we can control. You can have good risk management. You can have good, hey, if this isn't going to work, where else can planning ahead, getting your dates, all that kind of stuff. But sometimes you can't. Sometimes supply issues happen that are kind of out of your control. So if you've got a good CAD and PLM system in place where you're able to have good, shall we say, agility, a good agility platform, you can actually make adjustments to the supply chain process, to what you're trying to do, to the resources you need. And I think that's probably what they're going to have to, they may already be doing, but certainly have to look at making sure you have in place here.
Yep. I overlay with that digital twins or process twins, that ability to simulate different plants and to see which plant can react better to the timeliness of materials inbound, because it's a global business at the end of the day that we're talking about. So, yep.
Speaking of global businesses, I want to take a drive, maybe a swim over to India for a little bit here. But Dr. Nalamasu is the Senior Vice President and CTO of Applied Materials. And Applied Materials has just invested in VVD and technologies. So Dr. Nalamasu says the vibrant technological ecosystem in India presents an excellent opportunity for Applied Ventures to invest in and collaborate with innovative deep tech companies. Applied Materials has a venture capital arm called Applied Ventures that just invested in VVDN, which is one of the leading India-based electronics for product or electronic companies for product design, software, manufacturing. And the Strategic Growth Fund from Applied Ventures enables VVDN to expand the R&D of their next generation semiconductor technologies, as well as other electronic products and solutions. Applied Ventures is trying to invest in companies with the potential for significant growth, which of course they thought VVDN was one of these. And it's going to help with the design and manufacturing to put the company in a great position to be what they think is a major player, not only in India, but also in the global electronic design and manufacturing industry. The Indian electronics market has exhibited robust growth in recent years. I think week to week, we keep talking about growth in India and electronics.
Yep.
So the country looks to expand its role in the global semiconductor ecosystem. VVDN has a unique combination of design, manufacturing, test capabilities, which allow it to play a pivotal role as engineering, software, and manufacturing partner for companies across automotive, data center, telecom, Internet of Things, security, surveillance, industrial, medical, other markets. We're talking a lot of markets here. What PLM struggles do we have?
Mm-hmm. You've got three very big macro issues going on there, I think. Number one, design integration across such diverse industries that you've just touched on. Second, what we've been talking about all show so far, which is the next gen semiconductor technologies coming through, and the whole R&D side of that will be number two. And thirdly, you just unpacked another issue, which is global. They're not just in India, they're going global. So they've got different standards, they've got different processes they're going to have to adhere to, compliance. So global collaboration and standardization would be my third issue.
Let's imagine that you're in charge. What's your playbook?
God forbid. Okay, so if I think about their ambition to make a global impact, the challenge of global collaboration and standardization, to me, emerges as probably the biggest issue that needs to be tackled. Number one, a unified PLM environment. Firstly, PLM is your foundation stone of this product-centric, customer-centric business. If you haven't got your PLM sorted out, it doesn't matter what your ERP is doing, you've got nothing to finance, account, and procure. So PLM, number one, is the foundations. You've got to harness that PLM to create a unified collaborative hub, especially with such complex design and manufacturing. Your PLM, it's not just a repository, it's a global nerve center for your design, for your simulation, and for your manufacturing insights. So that's number one. Number two, standardization through PLM. We touched on that as well already. It's the heartbeat of efficiency. In our PLM approach, we don't just manage data, we standardize it intelligently. So the PLM tool enforces standardized formats and protocols, ensuring that every team, regardless of their location, speaks the same language. This isn't just data, it's the language of innovation that we're trying to deal with here. And that's without even touching, Brian, things like version control, staying ahead of things, real-time collaboration at any time of the day, 24/7 in a global business, and then integration, of course. So that would be me. I've been trying to crank through all of those issues.
And I think you've got some new taglines there with PLM as the global nerve center and the heartbeat. I think we've got to figure out a new catchphrase for you here.
There you go. Next up, Analog Devices. Analog Devices to buy 40 nanometer wafers from TSMC in Japan. They are doubling down on their partnership with TSMC, specifically their subsidiary, the Japan Advanced Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, JASM. The extended collaboration secures long-term wafer capacity for the multinational through JSM. The joint efforts reinforce ADI's hybrid manufacturing network, which combines in-house fab capacity with foundry supply. ADI is expanding its fab in Limerick, Ireland, with backing from the European Commission. And JSM plans to start construction of a second fab by the end of this year, providing a total production capacity of more than 100,000 12-inch wafers per month. These will start to overlay process technologies for automotive, industrial, consumer, and HPC related applications. The capacity plan may be further adjusted based upon customer demand. Here we go again, Brian. This is another complex one, high volumes going on. How are we going to deal with those challenges? How are we going to solve those?
Well, all this talk of wafers is, I don't know about you, but it's making me hungry. But no, here we're talking about, I think, manufacturing at scale,
Yeah.
but both words of scale, a huge scale, a lot of them, but also a super tiny scale. So you said 100,000 12-inch wafers per month.
Yep.
That's a lot. But each 12-inch wafer can have as many as 84,000 CPU cores, which, if you think about, 84,000 CPU cores fitting onto a 12-inch wafer, these are really tiny things we're doing here too. So quality control, huge factor. Your your mess mom is, your manufacturing operations management, your manufacturing execution systems here need to be, you know what, actually, this is your high horse, Andrew. You love talking about mess mom. So what you got?
The only way to manage quality at this scale in real time is with a decent manufacturing operations management solution. That's it. And it's not an IoT platform that's just dealing at that level 2 end. It's getting it at that level 3, fully integrated up into your ERP, pulling through your quality planning, quality control processes from your PLM, and executing on those processes at a MESMON level. So to me, that's what it's all about. Of course, I've got to also mention that there's a digital twin. Yeah.
I think you have to have that here.
Yeah.
I think it's things like this feel almost like just a case study in the need for good mess mom, digital twin, all this playing into it, which goes to everything as we talked about on this show as well, leading into your systems for a good PLM, a good CAD, a good whole idea for supply chain issues. I mean, all of this comes into play here.
And honestly, not every mess mom fits all. You've got incredibly low tack time with something like this. The volume, the speed that things are going through, the repetitive nature of it. Not every mess mom that you pull off the shelf is going to be right for this. So you got to pick and choose the right one that is capable of handling processes of this kind of scale, volume, and quality as well. Yep.
So next up, BWX Technologies gets a $122 million contract for uranium de-enrichment. BWX Technologies is a multifaceted nuclear tech company that was awarded this contract. Their subsidiary, Nuclear Fuel Services, is going to receive funds from the TVA. Now, this is not Marvel's Time Variance Authority, but this is the Tennessee Valley Authority, which is a government-owned utility provider. BWX already had a uranium downblending contract with the TVA, which is being extended until 2027. Downblending is a process where we take highly enriched uranium, convert it into low enriched uranium for commercial and domestic defense purposes. BWX says that the contract extension is going to continue to support the National Nuclear Security Administration's defense program goals. They'd already obtained a $428 million contract in April of last year for highly enriched uranium purification and conversion services. I think when we talk about the word nuclear, we think of scary stuff. And the Nuclear Fuel Services has actually been downblending uranium since 1995, when there was this project called Project Sapphire.
Because my first question is, where are they going to get all this uranium from anyways? I mean, questionable.
So following the collapse of the Soviet Union back in 1991, there was a large quantity, about 600 kilograms of weapons-grade uranium left in Kazakhstan. And Project Sapphire was a covert operation conducted by the U.S. government to remove the material from the country back in 1994. And then BWX was to assist with the de-enrichment process. So, this has been going on for a long time, maybe a little covert at first. They take the fuel, the power, all of this from this downblending process and use it to power the U.S. Navy's aircraft carrier and submarine fleet. And it's also good for nuclear medicine, space exploration, nuclear fuel for reactors. And the nuclear fuel market is just growing. I think we tend to think about, hey, nuclear is scary, but it's also pretty efficient, depending on, when you do the,
Mhm.
and in some cases safe, some cases scary, depends on what's happening, right? Countries around the globe are enhancing their nuclear capabilities. What
Yep.
country do you think is going to be one of the biggest key players in the modern day nuclear renaissance?
I think they already are. To me, it's France right out the gate,
It's Canada.
which is like
Canada.
a French connection. French connection.
Yeah. That little tiny hat on the US, right, is going to be a
But,
huge player.
but think about it. It's a lot of it is public perception, and they've overcome that in France pretty well. And the next, if you say France, think of another French country. First one's going to be Canada, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
No, I know not everybody on the West, but there we go. But so Canada, yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
You just said perception. So
Yep.
there's the safety concerns, there's regulatory compliance. What are the biggest problems that you're going to see with nuclear fuel with downblending?
I think they're all connected with the same thing, which is public perception, which means regulatory compliance and safety and design. Complexity in simulation for nuclear processes, number one, integration of multifaceted operations. I mean, you were talking about nuclear fuel, you're talking about space exploration, I'm guessing, building systems for the US Navy. The challenge lies in integrating these different operations seamlessly from design to manufacturing and beyond, or kind of originating out. So three big ones for me. Yeah, 2, 3 big ones.
Yeah. And your biggest one?
Safety and compliance will be the core pillar. Because when you think about it, in the world of nuclear design, safety, it's not a checkbox. It's the guiding principle that has to be pumping through the business all the time. Compliance isn't just a hurdle, it's the foundation upon which you're going to design and build. So as you design for uranium de-enrichment, regulatory adherence is going to be very much a non-negotiable. So for me, our approach is going to involve leveraging your CAD, your PLM tools as very much that overseer of compliance, integrating features that will track and document every regulatory nuance. Safety isn't just design consideration, it's embedded in very much every line of code, ensuring that your nuclear projects stand as the paragons of safety and regulatory compliance through and through. There you go. Next up, Supurna, the global leader in data security and cyber storage solutions for on-premise, hybrid, and multi-cloud environments, announced today that it has signed a software distribution agreement with Arrow Electronics. Supurna's data security and resiliency solutions are now available to Arrow's thousands of commercial and federal channel partners to help them secure data against increasingly sophisticated ransomware and other cyber threats. So by teaming with Supurna, Arrow is now the first large technology company to broadly distribute Supurna's suite of next-gen data security and resiliency solutions to its global customer base. Cybersecurity, now there's another can of worms. What's going to be the big PLM struggle here?
Cybersecurity, cyber threats. I think it's fair to say we're in a digital age, an age of AI, an age of rapidly evolving technology, which includes the threats. So companies are having to decide how to protect the data as well, and store it and transfer it, and how to make it easy to access for collaboration to users who are supposed to access it, but not to those who aren't supposed to access it. So I think there's benefits people have to consider for cloud versus on-premise storage and all the hurdles with all of these things. In a situation like this, it sounds like you're going to have, thousands of end users who need to have consume the data on the cloud, which means that, they've had to think through, how do you make this secure and hopefully easy to use end system. Arrow is one of the largest tech distribution platforms in the world, and Supurna seems to be the solution they're looking to secure this all together. But this comes with challenges of integration and installation. I mean, large systems can take extreme planning to install correctly. Think about trying to install piece of software, that the latest computer game onto your computer to play, you've got a lot of settings and things to consider there. And that's just a tiny thing. So when you're involving, large scale installations, thousands of secure access points, it's a huge undertaking.
Yep.
And I think that that's the key, is figuring out how to make that process efficient and to not lose any of the work currently in process, because there's
Yep.
already some solutions where people need access to their data right now.
Yeah. To me, this is the no-brainer for that PLM collaborative space, PLM collaborative platform, which has got all of your authority levels built in, highly secure environment. So you're only letting in people with certain access rights. To me, that's the first thing you're going to put in place, isn't it? AKA a 3D experience platform, dare I say.
Basically, yeah.
There you go.
And with that, everybody, thank you for joining us for the last 7 days, High Tech Edition.
High tech. Yeah. Have a great week.